Welcome back to Whitaker Writings. I'm Jason Cormier. Today we're going to talk about me. This will be fun. I apologize for the sound of my voice. I'm just getting over being sick. I haven't been able to shoot a video in the last week. Hopefully my voice will last for the remainder of this video. Let's talk about what got me into writing in the first place. I'm one of those late college people. I did the military first. After about 10 years in the Army, I decided to pursue a degree and search for something outside of the military. I'm just now finishing that up. I've already earned everything I need for my bachelor's degree that is focused in creative writing. And then I'll be finishing up a film production certificate at the university this coming up in May. And I'm not sure if I'm going to continue pursuing higher education, maybe like an MFA or something. I've looked into it, but I guess we'll kind of see where things go as far as my writing and my career and things like that. I'm the current content editor for the university's literary magazine called the Fall Line Review. I've learned a lot having worked on the magazine for the last 3 years as part of the reading staff and then now as the content editor. Just getting to understand the process from the editor's side when you have to read all of these submissions and figure out what you want to use in the magazine and what isn't quite ready to be in there, whether it's from the story not grabbing your attention quick enough, or maybe just too many grammatical errors or the layout not being correct. It really opens up your eyes to understanding the submission process from that other perspective. If you're somebody who is currently attending college or looking to attend college, I would definitely say take the opportunity to get as much involved with a literary magazine at your university as possible. And if your university doesn't have one, then look into starting one. It's a great opportunity for anybody who wants to make writing part of their career, regardless of whether it's on the editor side or on the writing side itself. So currently, 2018, moving into 2019, what am I doing and where am I at? In 2019, my biggest project is trying to get the first book of my fantasy series, Paths of Destiny, finished. I'm super excited about this series. It's something that's been in the works for about 7 years now. It started when I was overseas as a story that I just wrote chapter by chapter for the soldiers to have something to read when we ran out of reading material. When I first came back from the deployment, I knew that I wanted to write. I wanted to put what I had written out. I enjoyed having people coming to me, asking to read more of what I was producing. It's a whole nother feeling when you have a community of people who enjoy what you create from your imagination, from your soul. I mean, you put your heart and soul into your work. And when people appreciate that and when people want it, that was something that I wanted to continue doing. And I think that's when I truly wanted to be a professional writer. I wanted to publish my work and get it out there rather than just writing for myself like I've done since high school. I had this story, this idea. I was writing this book. I was gung-ho. I wanted to come out and thought that I can just get this book done and then I would send it out and somebody would find out, hey, this is the most thrilling story we've read in centuries. This is like the new top seller. We want to turn this into a TV show. We want to turn this into a movie. We want to offer you this major book contract and pay you millions of dollars. And I just thought that it would take off because my ideas was so grand and great. But when you do the research, you find out that that's not the way things work. Yeah. This series was not ready. I wanted to make it as good as I possibly could before I ever submitted it to anybody. To get there, I decided that college was the best opportunity for me. It was a chance for me to learn, to really educate myself and develop my craft. And I've never been into school. You know, I didn't really care about school. It was just something you had to do to get through. But now I wanted to go to school. I wanted to learn and I wanted to educate myself on as much as I possibly could so that I can be the best writer I possibly could. And I went to college, started off as an English major, thought that was the right track to be a better writer. Turns out English majors are about other people's work, not your own. I wanted to write my own stories. I didn't want to write about other people's stories. So I saw a intro to creative writing class and I immediately signed up for that. It seemed to match more of what I wanted to learn. And so after taking those classes, I found that my school didn't offer a degree in creative writing. So those classes were going down the drain. They did offer a minor in creative writing, but I was going to have to spend hours and hours and hours of credits just studying something that wasn't beneficial to what I wanted to do. And I was there primarily to learn about how to become a better writer. Well, then I found out through another professor that you can do an interdisciplinary studies path. It's a bachelor's program. And in that path, you get to kind of create your own degree program. And as it turns out, there were more than enough creative writing courses offered at the college. And by taking all of them, I was able to turn that into my bachelor's degree. So that's what I've done for the last 5 years. I've been working on finishing a bachelor's degree in creative writing. I've taken fiction classes, poetry classes, nonfiction classes, screenwriting classes. As part of that, I got into working on a film production certificate. While I've been attending college, I've been working on my series. And it's interesting how it's gone because as I learn more about writing and I understand more as a writer and as a reader, my style has changed so much. And I've rewritten this entire book probably 3 different times. I'm hoping to have the first book ready to submit to an agent and start doing queries within the next month. So that's my ultimate goal. By the end of January, I want to be querying the first book of my series. I'm hoping to pick up an agent by May. That's the goal. I know it's rough. That's about 3 months. Yeah. So it's about 3 months to hopefully entice somebody with my query letters enough to feel that the series that I'm working on is worth it. If you're a writer, you know that your stories are your baby, and everybody has that one story that they are passionate about. That, you may write a story and you may like it, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're passionate about that work. You may be okay if it doesn't get published. You may be okay with just setting it on your shelf or maybe putting it out there for a few people to read. But most writers have that one story, that one project they're working on that they want from the bottom of their heart to be successful. And this is that project for me. I've put so much time, so much energy into this. And I want to see it to fruition. I want to see it become everything that it can be. I've tried to give it the best opportunity for that. Just to show you some of the things that I've gone through. This is my Excel spreadsheet, which is just how I keep track of all the details of the book. And that way, as I continue writing, not just the first book, but the second and the third and the fourth book in the series, I can make sure that I'm not misinforming my readers or saying something that is different to what I've said previously. In this, you can see I have different tabs here on my information. Here I have an index page, and each one of these has a link that I can click on that takes me to specific details about the chapters, the characters, the locations, as well as references like looking at a visual map, the races that I have in my story. So any details about a race that may be different from the others, I have all those written in there. So if I create a new character in that race, I make sure that they're following the rules that I've created in my world. I also talk about the different weapon systems. What weapon systems are used by different people and where would you find them? So if I'm writing about any type of weaponry, I want to make sure that I reference all that information correctly in my book. As well as these template sheets. Now, these template sheets fit with this content up here. If I write about a specific chapter, and I can't show you some of the information for obvious reasons, but if you were to click on this chapter link here, it would take you to a list of all of the chapters lined up for my story. And for every single book, you would have a different list. So Book 1 would have a list here, and then there'll be a list of every chapter in that book. You can click on the individual chapter link and it would take you to one of these chapter sheets. Now this sheet's going to talk about the specifics of that chapter. So I have one of these for every single chapter of each book that I write. And that allows me to have a quick reference if I'm looking for a specific thing that I've written before and I want to make sure I don't state it incorrectly later on in the book. I can go back through and kind of read those synopsises and get familiar with the entire story up to date. The second thing, of course, is these character sheets. Now, if you click on the characters tab, it'll take you to a list that has all of the characters that I've written about in my book. If I've mentioned their name, I've created something for them. Even if they're not in the book, I've created something for them. Anything in my world building process, if I have a character, I have their parents listed on there. I have any sibling or family they may have, where they're from, and that allows me to always have a reference. So if I talk about that character, I can go back and look at what I have planned for that character, where they're at, what locations they're going to be in, so I don't have to make it up on the fly or worry about accidentally saying something at one point that I say differently at another point. It's just already planned out. So inside here, with the list of characters, each one of their names has a link to the character sheet here. And this character sheet basically talks about all the details of that character. And so this is just a great reference, especially with non-main characters that you don't know as well, or that you may reference and plan to do something with later on, or you're going to come back to them after having not mentioned them in several chapters or maybe several books. This allows me to have that information to reference, so that way I can familiarize myself with those characters that I haven't seen in a long time. And then down here, of course, I have locations. Now I can show you the locations tab because I don't think it's really going to reveal too much about the story. When I click on the locations tab, it has all these different names. Now, each one of these will be linked to a specific location. So for instance, if I want to go to Gentleman and know more about the city of Gentleman and everything I've written about in the book, I would click on the name and it will take me to the location sheet specifically for Gentleman. Now down here under the references tab, I have my map. I would definitely recommend you drawing because it has just been incredibly helpful for me in my writing process to just have a visual reference of the world that I'm talking about. Now, again, I have my races, which talk about the different races that I use throughout the stories, whether it's mages, elves, humans, bronze, things of that sort. And then I have my weapons page, which talks about all the different weaponry that I use within the story. Then down here, of course, we have the template sheets for each one of those. You have your chapter sheets, you have character sheets, and then you're going to have location sheets. And each one of those is, of course, designed to give you specific details about characters, chapters, and locations. So that way I can quickly reference that information if I need to later on, so I'm not miswriting information later in the book. I'm one of those people who is worried that I'm going to write something wrong. Maybe I've written something previously and then I'm going to counter it down the road. So when I talk about characters in the past or locations, or I talk about weapon systems or just anything that I'm referencing from previous in the book, I want to go back and find that information. And before I had this whole system created, I would have to go find that information. I'd have to try to remember where in the book I talked about it before, and then just go reading through the chapters and skimming through and seeing if I can find it. And it just took too long. It took me out of my writing process, took me out of the mindset to finish writing what I was writing. And I decided to create something like this just so that I had a quick reference. That way, now if I want to know anything about the past, all I have to do is click on that character and I'll know everything I've mentioned about that character and where it was located. And if I need more details, I can just click on that chapter and pull up the synopsis and see, okay, on this page number, in this chapter, we talked about this. And then I can quickly search that in my document. And that has sped along this process. And it's allowed me to go ahead and fact check myself while I'm writing without having to take so long to go through and find that information. I can quickly find it and access it immediately, so that way I can continue on with my writing and push forward. And that has sped along the writing process a lot. So that's my current work in progress. I am almost done. I have 7 more chapters that I need to edit and rewrite and make sure that they are just ready to go. Yeah, I'm a little stressed, a little nervous, but I'm also super excited. This has been something that I've put off for a long time to try to get it right. And I feel like I'm finally at the point where I'm ready to submit this book to the world and see what they have to say about it. I'm super excited for it. Hopefully in the next year, I'll be able to put out a video saying, hey, my book got a publishing deal and it's fixing to be printed and put on shelves, and I will be the most ecstatic person in the world on that day. But for now, I've got more work to do, so I'm going to get to it. I appreciate you guys listening to everything I've had to say here today, learning a little bit more about my current work in progress, and a little bit more about my history as a writer. If you guys would like to know more information about the Paths of Destiny, the current series that I'm working on, I will update you guys through every step of the process. Make sure that you subscribe so that way you get notified every single time I post a new video. And please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions or inquiries, I will definitely respond back to you. My voice has about had it at this point, so I'm gonna go ahead and end things here. I appreciate you hanging in here with me, and I'll see you in next week's video. Drink lots of tea and write lots of words. Samhain. Hey.